Grandmaster Felix Blohberger made waves in the chess world when he published a viral video titled "Being a Chess Professional in Europe Sucks."
I'm simply not good enough.
We've discussed how Felix manages to sustain his career despite all the difficulties, his work as a coach for the best players in the world, and recommendations for opening repertoire.
If I'm playing against low-rated opponents where I really want to try and get a game.
We've also discussed lots of books and psychological tricks to help you boost your chess.
I'm closing my eyes and he's sort of guiding me through the event. You have some sort of physical trigger that can be...
At the end, we played a fascinating Blitz game. Do not miss it. Maybe that sacrifice was not very sound. So Felix, I was really impressed by your video about how it sucks to be a chess professional in Europe, and I was upset that it's not a very good, enticing career for many Europeans. That video made some waves, so let's start by discussing the video. As I assume, you personally enjoy quite a comfortable career. Is it true?
Yeah, definitely. So the video title was a bit extreme, I would say. And in that video, I went into, I would call them not even dangerous, but some common misconceptions, perhaps, which are commonly thought of for grandmasters, especially financially speaking. But speaking about myself, which maybe in the video wasn't clear enough, I'm super happy and fortunate for the career I'm able to have and the life I'm able to have. So that's something to clear up. I'm super happy to be able to pursue chess, and for me it's sort of a dream come true.
How do you deal with the drawbacks of the chess career that you've outlined in the video? So you mentioned that the state does not do much to support chess players in Europe, and also that there are not many sponsorship deals. So how do you sustain yourself financially? What's your recipe?
Well, my recipe is to sort of think more in the in an entrepreneurial way, sort of to offer services in that regard, which of course is now a little bit different than playing chess for a living, since I have to be honest, I'm simply not good enough to be in the absolute top of the world. I would have had to work much more when I was younger, instead of playing Nintendo and doing other things. So yeah, now I'm switching to other things, which is, for example, coaching, creating courses, and creating content, which I'm very fortunate also that I'm actually really loving it and that I just absolutely enjoy it. Nowadays, even perhaps more than playing in some cases. So I'm very happy that I found something which is very similar, but also at the same time a little bit different than playing.
Mm-hmm. But still you have goals, professional goals, like reaching 2600 by the age of 25. This is all still on the table, right?
Yeah, I'm still very much trying to work on my own chess. And as you pointed out, I have this goal of reaching 2600. But yeah, combining this, of course, it's not easy, but I'm trying to sort of have two different things in chess. One is trying to work on my own game, and the second one is also trying to help others to improve and creating content which people hopefully also enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, by the way, I recommend Felix's channel. We will link it in the description. Lots of insightful content there. So it's interesting. Let's discuss this a little bit more. It's interesting that there is this kind of place, maybe rating range of people who do chess professionally, who are very good at it, who are grandmasters. This is like the creme de la creme. This is extremely strong players who have dedicated many years to the game, but they are still, as you say, not good enough to make good money out of it. And where do you think this this range ends? Which is the threshold where you can make it comfortably, like just playing chess?
Yeah, from just playing chess, I would guess it also the big factor is on where you live or where you're based, since the cost of living is very much different in different parts of the world. So this is, of course, a big factor. In general, I would easily believe there are even 2,500 grandmasters that are able to make a living from purely playing alone. Yeah, if they live quite a modest life, I think it's definitely possible. But for that, you need to travel from open tournament to open tournament, which makes having a family and other things close to impossible, I would say. If it comes to the fact that you're maybe not playing as much, traveling from tournament to tournament, I would guess that you can make it work if you're about 2650 plus, but really comfortably it's if you're 2700 plus, from what I could hear purely from playing alone. That's the key thing.
Mm-hmm. But what's interesting is the fact that even those 2700 plus rated players often engage in extra activities like producing courses for Chessable or other platforms. Anish Giri comes to mind, for example, a player from the elite who does that, or by streaming like Hikaru, like many top players already are doing this. Nepo, Anish. So turns out that this is like becoming a thing for top players doing extra stuff. Maybe also because even being at the very top is not as financially enticing as being at the very top in, for example, tennis or football.
Yeah, even if you are at the top in chess, you are able to make a comfortable living, but you still cannot compare it to other sports or even to content creation. If you're very successful there, you will probably make a much better living, financially speaking, than purely playing chess professionally. So that's also one reason, I guess, why some of the top players are also going into other fields like content creation or creating courses, because it's simply a very, very nice extra source of revenue.
And I wanted to ask, you mentioned some Asian countries providing financial support to players. For example, the government of Uzbekistan given cars to participants of the Chess Olympiad who won it, and last year they didn't even win. They took the third place, I think, and they also were given like brand new cars and huge money, like 100K USD, around that. Do you think that it's possible in Europe for the state to do the same, or it's useless to dream about this?
Yeah, I don't think this will ever happen in Europe. I mean, yeah, you simply cannot have everything. Most European countries, I mean, we have a very, very good social system, so things are in general like no one can complain here. But simply the way that sports are sponsored is not nearly comparable to Asian countries, since from what I could hear or from what I could tell, simply sports in Asian countries are a way of showing that the country is very successful and that it cares about its people, and this is just a different way of thinking in Europe from what I could see.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think this is the case, and which approach is better in your opinion?
Well, that's, I mean, it's getting sort of political. Like there are, of course, ups and downsides for both things. Like you cannot have everything in a country, in a government. So if there are things that are working well, then other things are not working well. So that's kind of how things just are. I'm very happy that I'm living in Europe, and in general, I'm living a very good life, and I cannot complain at all. Yeah, for sports people, those cases, of course, it would be very nice to get better government support.
You mentioned in your video the fact that once Vienna, the capital of Austria, where you're from, used to be the chess capital of the world, and Wilhelm Steinitz, the first world chess champion, official world chess champion, was from Austria, and top international tournaments were held in Vienna, and it was like the magnet that attracted everything and everyone from the world of chess. Do you believe Europe has a chance to regain such a status? Not necessarily Vienna, but maybe some other parts of Europe.
I don't really see it in the near future, since if we look at the generation now from young chess players, almost all of them, except for maybe Vincent Keimer, come from more Asian countries, since we just see that the general recognition of chess is simply much better there, or much more is happening in that regard. Also the state sponsorship and so on. So it needs many years and a lot of effort to kind of combat those struggles which European or even Western countries in general are facing currently.
Mm-hmm. But there is one such example. You mentioned him, Vincent Keimer. So he could lead the way for a generation of European super GMs. He is already.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There will always be sort of examples where it just doesn't matter because they're so good. Like, for example, Magnus as well. Norway is not really a chess country, but simply he's so good and so talented that for his progress, it simply didn't matter.
Yeah, let's hope that more talents like this appear in Europe. Definitely, it will be good for the world of chess. Let's talk about your chess career. You've recently played in a tournament. I've watched some of the recaps, and unfortunately, it did not go well. You mentioned in one of your videos that you were disappointed. It was a bad tournament, but you need to recover after it. So how do you recover? I want to ask.
Yeah, so the first thing I needed to kind of see myself is that those bad stretches, those bad events just happen. And the most important thing then is just to come back and not just cry about it and sulk about it for many months to come, because then you will not improve. So the first key thing which I tried to implement was that, yeah, I'm understanding it was a horrible event. Even after that, I played some leagues, which also didn't go so well. But you simply need to understand that this happens, and you need to try and see objectively what went wrong and try to learn from that so that it doesn't happen in the future. Because I'm planning to continue playing, and that's the most important lesson you can learn from bad events, simply trying to understand what didn't go your way and then that it doesn't happen in the future. So what I'm doing now is trying to go over the games and see where it went wrong. Also trying to look at my routine during the events. What did I do there which maybe didn't work for the tournament in general? That maybe I wasn't eating right, maybe I wasn't exercising enough. So those things are just what you should, in my opinion, go through after the event. So that it doesn't happen in the future anymore.
Yeah, logical. And can you share any of your conclusions that you've already come to? You probably have already analyzed some things that went wrong. What did you do in a way that was suboptimal or something like that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. The first thing I sort of saw was that I simply wasn't working enough on my own chess before that. I focused a lot on content creation and on creating courses, on coaching for the last months or even for the last year. And now I sort of got a wake-up call that I cannot continue like that without working on my own chess. Simply, I will not improve, which is sort of obvious if you see it now, if you talk about it now. But it wasn't obvious to me before. So that's the first thing, which now I see when I'm playing a serious tournament in the future, I will take at least 1 or 2 weeks before that to seriously prepare and not to think about other things. The other things which I also saw was that in the tournaments where I successfully played, where I had good events, I was working out on a daily basis. So doing strength training, doing cardio, and I wasn't doing that there. Partly because the gym was closing already early in the evening, so there was no time for that. Yeah, that was kind of the main reason. That there was also not much to do in the city there. So those are the 2 main things which I understood, which didn't go exactly how they should.
Mm-hmm. Both are very interesting topics. Let's discuss them. So first of all, the relations between your chess career as a player and your career as a chess content creator, chess educator. How do you split your time between those 2 paths that you are combining?
So for the past year, it has been mostly, so the majority of time went into coaching, content creation, and so on. But now, after those tournaments concluded, I realized that at least on a daily basis, I want to put X amount of hours into my own chess as well. Of course, it doesn't work every day. Like sometimes there are things to take care of, but I try to do at least 2 hours for my own chess every day. And sometimes if it works, then I'll be able to do more. So still, even now, the majority of my time goes into content creation and coaching and other things, simply because it's a more financially viable alternative for me now. But I simply need to work on my own chess to continue being a good coach as well. Like the other day I thought about doctors, for example, who also need to still be on their game. They go to conferences all the time to continuing to be educated and just knowing everything about all the developments. And that's kind of the analogy I understood now, that to be able to be a good coach and content creator, I also need to continuously work on my own game.
2 hours per day. Do you think it's enough for your current level?
It's not a lot for sure. So I assume that almost everyone around my level works much more than that. But I feel like if I do that on a daily basis, so I'm saying a minimum of 2 hours. To do that every day, I think is already quite a good base. But of course, there have to be days, or especially days where, of course, I'll work for the whole day. That's how it is.
I believe that before tournaments you work more intensely, right, in preparation for the particular tournament. Okay, and about the rest of your time, how do you split it? I know that you are second to Harikrishna. Is that still the case?
So I've been working with Hari since the year 2022, but now more recently he has not been playing as much, so I didn't work for him as much. The last tournament I accompanied him was for the Tata Steel tournament this year. But overall, he's not playing as much anymore, partly because he also started seconding, for example, Gukesh in the World Championship match, or Juvenjun before that. So his priorities also shifted a little bit. So therefore, my work with him has decreased a little bit.
So most of the time you create content and you coach.
Yeah, that's the main thing. And I also, apart from chess, I try to stay fit on a daily basis. So I try to work out numerous times per week.
Nice. This is very important, of course. About your work as a second, I was wondering how it works these days, because, of course, with the advent of powerful engines, many people who have worked as seconds and who were on my podcast, like Dubov, for example, or Jordan Van Forest, they said that a lot has changed in the world of seconding. What is your, when you work for Harikrishna or some other players as a second, what is your workflow like? What exactly is it that you do? What's the magic?
Yeah, great question. I think it was also Sasha Grishuk who was on your podcast, who said that nowadays with the white pieces especially, you have to find just some garbage which hasn't been played before. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he said something along those lines, which kind of hits the nail on the coffin. I think it is like that nowadays. So with black, in most cases, you're trying to just equalize. A draw is in most cases enough. Even though nowadays you often see also with black many players trying to get a game actually and trying to create chances. But when it comes to having white, as I said before, it sort of comes down to just finding something new or trying to surprise your opponent, which is maybe not even the objective best choice, because your opponent will in most cases know the best engine move, but often trying to look for the 5th or 6th or 7th engine move, which is also playable, but which your opponent hopefully hasn't checked. And from that on, just trying to understand the position better than your opponent and trying to surprise them as good as possible.
So how exactly does it work? For example, Harikrishna tells you, I want to play like this opening with white, for example. Find something, some garbage that works. Is it like that? And you're just looking through 5th and 6th lines of the engine in some variations? Yeah.
So when it comes to our routine in general, I can definitely briefly talk about it, is that in most serious events, we have a training camp before that, which has a span of like a week or so, where we work every day for it was like 6 or 7 hours, and the rest of the time we also tried to get some physical activity in. And there we try to prepare the openings which he is intending to play in that event. So in general, what we are preparing in that training camp is also what he's going to play in the event as well, in most cases. But of course, sometimes some things will change. My work will come in to try and refine those ideas which we worked on before. When it comes to the specific preparation for the games, the first thing which we're doing is to sort of make a player profile, trying to understand what type of openings, what type of positions our opponent is most comfortable with and most uncomfortable with. And we're trying to go there where he's most uncomfortable with, of course. So, and once we understood that, we sort of make a conclusion, what is the best choice to play? And then sort of my work comes in, where I'm trying to look for new ideas if we didn't do any analysis there before, and trying to come up with something there. And then hopefully he's happy with that and he's going to play it.
How often, I wonder, you get the line that the opponent will play right? So how often do you guess correctly and the position that you have prepared as the position occurs on the board?
Yeah, it's so hard nowadays because everyone plays so many different things. I still remember in Tada Steel, in the Weikannsee tournament, it was actually a couple of times where exactly the same which we prepared for that game came, but it's not like it comes every game. I think you're lucky if it comes like 50% of the time, because every opponent is trying to surprise you. So I think in that event, it worked out pretty well, with like a 40 to 50% chance that exactly the preparation we had actually came on the board.
Yeah, because the opponents also try to surprise you in turn. Mm-hmm. This makes sense. I was very surprised when watching one of your recent videos, and when I saw that you said, I don't have a repertoire with white. I was like, how is it possible? You are a strong grandmaster, and also you're a second to one of the strongest grandmasters, so you should be an opening specialist. So can you please explain how is it possible that you don't have I assume you have some repertoire, but you meant like you don't have a proper repertoire with white.
Yeah, fantastic question. The thing is that once I sort of stopped working on my own chess, which was like one year ago or so, or at least reduced the number of hours by a significant time, I sort of lost touch and didn't repeat my own lines as much anymore. And you pointed out correctly that, of course, I'm working a lot seconding and coaching, but the thing is that I'm mostly working on specific lines there. So this will not be purely enough for me to play the opening, because I only know like 5 lines of that opening, but there are like 2 or 3 lines missing. So then to play the opening is not entirely enough, because the opponent could also play those 2 or 3 other lines, which I haven't checked for Harikrishna or for my other students. So that was kind of the problem. So I've been mostly relying on the things I've been playing for a very long time, which worked for a long time, but now already all of the people are preparing for it. So simply now I need to invest a lot of time to make a new sort of repertoire, and I simply cannot be relying on my old openings for now anymore.
Mm-hmm. I understand. What do you think is the optimal number of openings at your level that you should play to be able to surprise your opponents, to be able to avoid some crazy prep? Because obviously, if you have just one opening, you play all the time, like the Najdorf Sicilian, it's hard. They will prep, and they will probably get at least a very good position, maybe even catch you with some computer prep. But if you have several ones, it's better. But how many is it advisable to have? How many alternatives?
Yeah, there are different philosophies on that. Mine was always that I'm trying to play as many different openings as possible, because for me it was also always the most enjoyable. So with white, for example, I've always played e4, d4, c4, and knight f3. And even from there on, many different setups, because I simply like to play many different types of positions. And I also feel like it will probably give you the best sort of way to improve if you have many different new positions as well, which you're trying to figure out over the board on how to play them. But I can also totally understand people that are only playing one move on the first move, for example, especially the Armenian school, like there's Haik Matirosyan and Gabriel Sargsyan, for example, have been playing more or less d4 their whole life and did so very successfully because they just have a fantastic feeling about the different sort of positions which arise and are working numerous hours on trying to find new ideas there and trying to go deeper and deeper there. So this is also an approach which I really like and which I also want to implement in the future, just to try and find one opening which you really enjoy and just trying to go super deep there.
Mm-hmm. But won't your opponents prepare and be ready, or they play d4 but then they like use different types of development schemes?
Yeah, exactly. So they go for d4, but then they can go for the Catalan or the Queen's Gambit. So they have like 2 or 3 options there. But of course, with white, it's also easier because you have sort of a bigger choice than with black to get a playable position. With black, it's a lot harder. As you pointed out before, the Najdorf, for example, Vasile Graf, Maxim, was playing the Najdorf for many, many years, also the Grunfeld, but then a couple of years ago, he just decided it's not fun anymore because my opponents are just preparing for that, and it's just way too risky for me to run into their preparation.
And for black, what is the optimal strategy that you believe to be the best? Also to have optionality, or to play one opening but know it very deeply? Yeah,
so in general, the guideline which I would say is quite helpful is to have sort of 2 options. The first one is to be solid against stronger opponents when sort of a draw is good enough, and then to have one option if you're in the mood to fight or if you're playing against a low-rated opponent, then to get sort of a more fighting position. So one example I could give is in my case, I play with black against 1e4. I play the Berlin against pretty strong opponents in most cases, and if I'm playing against low-rated opponents where I really want to try and get a game and try to press for a win, I opt for the French or for some Sicilian defenses. So this is what I would usually also recommend to my students to have like 2, one solid and one fighting option.
Got it. How do you spend your time training? So you said that you try to do at least 2 hours per day, and that probably you work on your openings a significant portion of time. How do you split your time? What percentage goes to openings? What percentage goes to tactics, calculation, and other stuff?
Yeah, so openings, of course, nowadays is quite an important part of training, but I try not to focus all of my time on that, like how most people, I would say, do nowadays. I think that most grandmasters focus like 90% of the time on openings, but I think it's still a little bit overvalued because at some point you're still gonna need to play the game by yourself. And therefore, now I try to sort of split it maybe 50-50 to openings and then to other parts of the game. What I always really love doing is just to read different sort of books. So my favorite 2 authors are Mark Dvoretsky and Artur Yusupov. So I always love to go through their books and just to try and absorb their classical understanding of the game, try to improve my technique, visualization, and prophylaxis. So all of those things are also very enjoyable and very important for me to work on.
Which ones would you recommend by Dvoretsky and Yusupov so that we could link those in the description of the video and audio version of the podcast?
Unfortunately, I have to say I only know them in German. So there is this one book series by Artur Yusupov. In German, it's called Tigersprung, so which means like a tiger jump for the enormous amount of progress you're going to make by reading them. So this book series has helped me enormously. There are, I think, nine books of that. I think I'm quite sure there's also an English version of them. I can actually tell you a story. When I was, it was like many years ago, when I started reading those books, I was, I think, 1800, 1900. And when I worked through the first 3 of those books, I basically became a FIDE master in a matter of, I think, half a year after just working through those books intensely. So those books have really made probably the biggest impact on my chess career. career. And now I've been going through Dvoretsky's books, for example, about prophylaxis, about technique. There's also a great book by him on maneuvering and the art of peace play. I think that's the name of the book. So as long as you're buying a book from Dvoretsky or Yusupov, I don't think you can be doing much wrong.
I've read some as well, but I should check out that series you mentioned because I want to become a FIDE master soon. So I will have to study those as well. We will link all the mentioned books in the video description and audio description as usual. So ladies and gentlemen watching and listening to this, please do check them out. So you said that you split your time in such a way. And what about solving calculation exercises? How do you do it? Do you do it on like some online platforms or do you have also books that you solve?
Yeah, this is something I changed also quite recently after those events, which didn't go my way because I saw from my own games that my calculation basically sucks. I haven't worked on calculation much for a long time, and what I've been trying to implement now is to try and solve those online puzzles from Lichess or chess.com on a daily basis. So what I do now is just 30 minutes, 1 hour every day to do Puzzle Rush or Puzzle Rush Survival Mode or just Lichess puzzles, which, those puzzles are not always so hard, but at least it always keeps your mind active. And I think that's quite an important fix for me personally, which is hopefully gonna help me.
Yeah, it's like keeping fit. I've heard this comparison from many chess players. You just have to exercise consistently to not get worse. And you also mentioned that you work out. What do you do in particular?
Yeah, I've always loved going to the gym, so mostly strength training. I started working out when I was 15 years old, so like 7 to 8 years ago. And this has helped me a lot also psychologically because those chess tournaments often tend to be psychologically extraordinarily straining. So once I come back or even during an event, you're simply so exhausted from a psychological point of view. And when you're doing this, at least for me personally, strength training has been so beneficial. For some people, maybe cardio will work better. But this is sort of, it balances it out for me personally, because if you're sitting at the board thinking all day long, then you need something to sort of clear your mind. And for me personally, that has always been strength training, which has done a wonderful job for me.
Fully agree. I also do it. By the way, question from interested viewers: how much do you bench press?
I actually never try to do PRs, so I don't really train like to my maximum amount possible. But the last time I tried to do as much weight as possible. It was already many years ago. I think I managed to do around my body weight, so I think like 80 kilograms or something like that. But I'm always a bit scared to injure myself as well if I'm going too heavy. So what I do is just to try and pick a comfortable weight and then try to do 8 to 12 repetitions as mostly.
Yeah, but lifting your own weight is already very decent. Not many chess players can do that, so respect. Okay, then I wanted to discuss one thing that I heard in one of your videos, where you said that you plan to work with a sports psychologist again. You said again, and I was like, oh, you probably already did. And I was wondering what did you do the last time and why it wasn't sufficient. If you can share this would be very exciting, I think, and useful for many chess players.
Yeah, so the first experience with a sports psychologist was actually already like 10 years ago. We've always had like a chess coaching program in Vienna, and the chess coach there, who was also my first chess coach, who I started working when I was only 5 years old, he suggested the idea that all of us who are in this sort of group coaching have a program with a sports psychologist, which was actually, looking back to it now, was a very good idea by him, because he already realized how important the fact of psychology is in chess. So that was kind of my first touch with sports psychology. And the same coach we had there, the sports psychologist, is also the one who I then started working on this part of my game privately. And the last time I worked with him was, I think, half a year ago or a year ago. And it always did worked wonders for me. Like always when I worked with him and then played in an event, I had a successful tournament. But simply before this event, somehow I just forgot about it or didn't find time, which of course in hindsight was quite a big mistake. And now I know that it's actually very, very important to work on that before every tournament. So that's also something I want to do in the future. Whenever I'm going to tournaments, I'll work with this sports psychologist before that.
How exactly do those sessions look like? What exactly is it that you do there?
Yeah, so what I've done with my sports psychologist was partly it was visualization of the event. So what we're doing is he's sort of doing, you could even call it a hypnosis. So I'm closing my eyes and he's sort of guiding me through the event. So we're starting off by you're going to the airport, and I'm always trying to visualize that. You're going to the airport, you're traveling, you're already feeling good, you're already feeling like you're going to do good in the event. Then you're going to the hotel is beautiful, the hotel is nice, you're checking into the hotel. Then you're preparing for your first game, you're looking forward to it, and I'm visualizing all of that with my eyes closed. He's guiding me through all of the rounds. It's round one, you're playing against a low-rated opponent, but you're feeling good, you're feeling like you'll just crush him, you're preparing well for the tournament, you're eating right. So he's just guiding me through all of those key aspects of a tournament. And as funny as that sounds, it always led to good results for me.
Sounds very exciting. And it sounds logical that this should boost your confidence, right? When you visualize something in advance. I think in many sports people do that. So this is one of the methods. Are there any other?
Yeah, this was one of the things. Other things, for example, he's helped me with time trouble, which now in the last events has not worked well for me. Partly because I think I haven't simply been in touch with him for some time. I think that was like 1 or 2 years ago where he gave me some good tips for time trouble, which for me personally has a lot to do with self-confidence as well. Like if I'm feeling self-confident playing, then I'm making moves fast, and if it doesn't, if I'm not feeling like I'm in a good shape, then I'm spending more and more time, which is not good. So then, in that cases, he's always done a fantastic job in trying to build my confidence as well. And then, as a result from that, I managed to have a better time management as well.
Can you share at least like one life hack, so to say, how to become more confident, not doubt yourself too much, and not get into time trouble? Because I do tend to do this sometimes as well.
Yeah. So what he taught me back then was to set a sort of anchor. So you can do it. You can imagine it as follows: you have some sort of physical trigger that can be, I don't know, snipping your fingers like this. And if you do that, then it should be associated with some sort of positive memory. For example, you won a fantastic game against a stronger opponent, and you need to associate this achievement by clipping your fingers, or I don't know. It can be many things. Can be holding on to your little finger like that. Can be all those sorts of things. And once this connection has been established, then it should be like that once you do this sort of trigger, then it should set in motion those positive memories, which then should also boost your self-confidence. So that could be one thing which helps in that regard.
Nice. I'll start doing that. So during the game, right?
Yeah, during the game or also before the game, in those moments. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think were the psychological problems that were evident at your last tournament, the one that you were telling about in the video? So you mentioned time trouble. What else?
Time trouble, also lack of confidence, because I haven't been working enough on my own chess. I haven't been practicing enough. I also haven't played many tournaments before that, so I somehow lost part of the practical value of playing as well. Those are, I would say, the key elements. But it all comes back to not working enough on my own chess. This is kind of the main main takeaway for me.
Yeah, obviously, confidence grows when you are well prepared, when you have spent a lot of time preparing, for example, openings, right? So this is also important. You are now 22 years old, correct?
Yeah.
And your goal is to become 2600 by 25. So you have like less than 3 years. What is your timeline to achieve that goal? Do you have in mind like some stepping stones that you have on this way?
Yeah, the thing about setting goals, it's not so easy, because once you set it to a specific number, somehow you also build this pressure inside of you. So I spoke to a friend a couple of days ago, and he also said that actually it's better to set a different type of goal, which is not connected to a specific number. So it would be better to set a goal to work X amount of hours per day on your own game than to try and set this 2600 goal. Yeah, I do have the goal of reaching 2600, but I try not to think about it that much, because then I will again build a lot of pressure from the inside, which I don't want. So now I have the goal, of course, in the long run to reach 2600, but I think a better goal for myself is to continuously work on my own chess for a minimum of 2 or even 3 hours a day. I think that's a much better goal.
Sounds logical.
If you're continuously working, then anyway, at some point you're going to reach your goals if you're putting appropriately enough time into that as well.
Yeah, and I also was wondering whether you think that your coaching activities and your content creation, whether it helps with your chess improvement, because I've seen different views on this by people. So what's your opinion? Does it help you?
Yeah, it's really hard to say. I would say that in some cases it does. For example, the YouTube videos I make, the opening videos where I'm analyzing different lines and showing them to my viewers, I'm actually putting a lot of effort into them, and I'm only showing things which I would also actually play myself. So there I'm sort of generating ideas, looking through different games. And this has proven also to be helpful for my own games. When it comes to coaching, I have many students which are very strong and talented young players, and in that case, they are also pushing me to calculate and to think about different things. If you're working with beginners, then in most cases, I'm not sure if it's bad for your own chess, but it's probably not helping as well.
Yeah, logical. So okay, then probably it could give you a little bit, tiny bit of value now at the end of the podcast when we play a Blitz game, because I'm much weaker than you, but I'm still not a beginner, so there will be some value. As a tradition, I play time odds Blitz against my opponents, usually grandmasters. Give me 1 minute against 5. Would that be comfortable for you?
Yeah, sure. Sounds fun.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, the French. I've been playing the French also a lot in my life. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mhm. Maybe that sacrifice was not very sound. I thought that I have some ideas behind it. Okay. Let's go. Hmm. Mhm. Okay, the attack is not working out too great. Unfortunately.
Lucky for me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're even taking this. Okay. Oh. Nice.
Hope that works.
Looks nice. Yeah. Was it the mouse slip? Or no, it wasn't. Oh no. Not good. Okay, I'll just resign this one. Thank you for this.
Thank you. Thank you for the game.
For this game. Yeah, I sacrificed a piece. I thought that I have some compensation, but apparently it was stupid. Where did I go wrong? Probably already after h6 it's bad. Bishop d2 I had to go. And it's equal.
But then I will already get g5. So in general, what white does is to play h4, not to allow h6 and g5.
Yeah,
So-
I mixed up my lines because of course I don't want to allow g5. So yeah, white was better after h4 here. Okay, yeah, and a very instructive game. Thank you very much, Felix, and
Thank you.
good
Greg.
luck with your journey to both 2600 and fame as a chess content creator.
Thank you so much, Greg. Thank you.